7-Up lemonade. Not the old 7-Up lemonade, but the new 7-Up lemonade. Still cool and clear, but with a great new taste that's even more refreshing. So, buy some today. It's delicious. Well, that's all I wanted to say, really, but the client has insisted on a bit more advertising hype, so I'd like to add that new 7-Up has sparkling performance, good fuel economy, and smart styling. Rotten brakes, though.
Annie Lennox and Curtis Stigers, the two best contemporary artists of the year.
And I wonder why we hold on with tears.
The multi-talented Curtis, he writes, he plays, he sings.
Yeah, I wonder why.
And Annie, the diva of pop. Curtis Stigers and Annie Lennox, diva. The must-buy albums of the year.
You know what I hate about Phil McCarroll moving up to Sydney? Now when a bloke needs a new car, he's got to go to the big smoke. And I hate the place.
When we moved to the city, we had some aims. To be the most competitive in sales and the most courteous and efficient in service. That's why I'm proud that we won Toyota's two most prestigious awards, the Dealer of the Year Award and the President's Award for Excellence. My team thanks you for your support. They know you appreciate good old-fashioned service and their commitment is to provide it.
You be careful doing business with those city folk, Phil.
The bloke from the bush on the highway at Hornsby.
At Schweppes, we've discovered a way to increase the size of our bottles without inflating the price. New Schweppes 1.5 litre bottles, 20% more at no extra cost.
Le Sunday stroll with Le family. And this is Le Snack, a Le small pack of goodies in a range of delicious flavours. Le Snack. You know it's good because it's made by Uncle Le Toby's.
7:30 Sunday. There could be more to Bart's latest crush that meets the eye.
You've got a date with the Xerox machine.
From Bart with Love, Sunday on 10. The new Tango and Cash.
That's not a key. This is a key.
Monday, the premiere of Dead Trouble.
This edition of 10 Eyewitness News is brought to you by the Nissan Maxima.
First in news, this is 10 Eyewitness News with Anne Fulwood.
We're probably under target on unemployment at this stage of the year.
Good evening. The Keating government's shocked response to worsening unemployment heads the 10 Eyewitness News tonight. Also, Republican sentiment overtakes the immigration debate. And at the end of a week of turmoil, Jeff Kennett is unrepentant.
We make no apology at all for putting into place the mandate that we were clearly given.
First, the federal government's new jobs push. Responding to yesterday's record unemployment figures, it's pouring $174 million into the creation of 20,000 jobs almost immediately.
Treasurer Dawkins today virtually announced the failure of the One Nation package to create as many jobs this year as promised. So $174 million has been taken off the grandiose rail projects and the national electricity grid to go into more instant job schemes.
The important thing is that we have taken this decision now, before it's too late, to ensure that the actual money to be spent to generate activity and jobs will in fact be spent in this financial year.
$57 million will boost labour market schemes with bigger subsidies to employers. The government says it should quickly create 20,000 new jobs. $20 million will boost Job Start with 115,000 new training places for the long-term unemployed. The opposition leader believes he may need the crash helmet and the leathers for a snap election battle.
There must be an election on. I mean, it looks like they've moved a bit of money into short-term spending to try and probably buy votes in key marginal seats.
Veterans Entitlements Amendment Bill 1992.
Dr Hewson points to the government's rush in the Senate to have its money bills passed to meet Monday's deadline for the calling of a December 19 election. The Prime Minister's people today were specifically not ruling out the December 19 option. Mr Keating himself was out there punching like an old campaigner.
The key point here is that the opposition's policies would push Australia back into a recession.
The Governor of the Reserve Bank, Bernie Fraser, may have given another clue to a poll rethink. He says unemployment will stay up around 11% for another year or so. And today, for the first time, this admission from Mr. Keating.
We're probably under target on unemployment at this stage of the year.
Paul Bongiorno, 10 Eyewitness News.
Reviving the Republican debate, Prime Minister Paul Keating today also unveiled a new immigration strategy. He wants all new Australians to swear an oath of allegiance to Australia and not to the Queen. The Prime Minister's move comes after opposition leader John Hewson had trouble remembering the words of Advance Australia Fair.
Paul Keating wants new Australians to swear an oath of allegiance, leaving out the Queen.
You know how I congratulate you on becoming a citizen?
Today he floated that idea at the National Immigration Conference in Sydney.
Another very useful initiative might be the adoption of an oath of citizenship sworn to Australia and the principles of democracy and tolerance, and explicitly recognising that Australian citizenship is a common bond involving reciprocal rights and obligations which unite us all.
Mr Keating is proposing new citizens to pledge their loyalty to Australia, the nation and the people, share in our democratic beliefs, respect our rights and liberties and uphold and obey our laws. The Coalition wants citizenship granted after 4 years residency instead of the present 2. Believes all new Australians must be competent in English and should be able to recite our national anthem, something John Hewson isn't too sure about himself.
Australians all let us rejoice, for we are young and free.
Right.
Golden soil of wealth for toil. Our land is girt by sea.
Yeah, yes. Keep going.
I know both verses, as a matter of fact, but I'm not singing them for you. I'll write them down. I can write them down.
The opposition leader called Paul Keating's plan just another cynical exercise.
Mr Keating always, when he gets into trouble, runs to a diversion.
Stephanie Kennedy, 10 Eyewitness News.
In Western Australia, a body blow for the Lawrence government. Health Minister Keith Wilson has resigned with a stinging attack on Australia's national health system.
This was a decision I really thought I would take 12 months ago.
It was an emotional Keith Wilson who today bowed out as Australia's longest-serving health minister, the frustration of fighting a lone battle to reform the nation's healthcare system finally taking its toll.
Because I've given up on Canberra, and I've no regard for Canberra, and I've no regard for the federal government.
Labor's lonely champion of private healthcare, Mr Wilson says his resignation is a personal protest at the continued underfunding of WA hospitals and the failure of Medicare.
It is the very antithesis of what the Labor Party stands for, and it's the very antithesis of social justice.
His disdain for Medicare and his controversial anti-condom stance led to frequent run-ins with colleagues, but Mr Wilson denies he's a victim of a vindictive ALP left. After a decade in Cabinet, he's happy to contest the next election as a backbencher. Kieran Murphy, 10 Eyewitness News.
There is concern tonight for more than 200 Australian tourists stranded in Bulgaria after the airline that was to fly them home went bust. The charter airline's financial problems have left the Australians stranded in a hotel. Several are elderly, one is 6 months pregnant.
The state at the moment is uncertainty. There was panic and hysteria. Frankly, it's fear and anxiety throughout everybody and a considerable degree of depression.
The Australian government has given $300 to help the stranded tourists, and the airline, Jazz Air, is expected to be bailed out in the short term by the Bulgarian government. The Australians are expected to be flown home early tomorrow. Indonesia has mounted its biggest military exercise on the anniversary of the Dili massacre in East Timor. The anniversary was commemorated with church services, and the day passed without incident.
The official explanation for the exercises, brushing up the professionalism of Indonesia's military might. It's speculated they were deliberately timed to coincide with the first anniversary of the Dili massacre as a message to all would-be separatists. Internal strife from independence movements are said to pose the biggest threat in the sprawling tropical archipelago, populated by hundreds of different ethnic groups. Meantime, in Delhi, hundreds gathered at the Santa Cruz Cemetery to remember the victims of last year's massacre. The military is still compiling the death toll from the shooting on November 12 of last year.
There were 115 people were missing. Among them, 18 corpses has been found, 31 people have returned home. So far, there are 66 people still missing.
Former Fretland second-in-command Jose da Costa says the prospects of significant opposition to the Indonesians is now limited.
It is very difficult to them to rise again and to take military actions because no, they are a very little men, and they have only 100 men with 100 weapons.
Elsewhere in Dili, beyond the remembrance ceremony, local activity continued as usual without interruption. Tony Guy, 10 Eyewitness News.
When we come back, a great white turns up in Sydney Harbour, more confrontation between government and unions in Victoria, and Fred Daly back where he belongs.
I should have been here, you know, but I didn't have the numbers.
Nissan Maxima, $35,000 with a fuel-efficient V6. Fairmont gear, $39,000 without. Why have the minimum when you can have the Maxima? From Nissan, the new Nissan.
Hey. Most banks seem to take forever to approve a home loan. There is a bank, however, that can normally give you a decision on a flexible home loan on the spot. So you can get underway straight away.
Which bank?
Christmas comes early with the Sun Herald's biggest bingo prize pool ever. There's $100,000 in cash and prizes to win. Get your Sun Herald game card this week and play Christmas Cracker Scratch Bingo. And it gets even bigger and better because you can also win Monday to Saturday with the Sun Herald's Dial for Dollars bonus bingo. It's the biggest and the best Sun Herald Scratch Bingo ever with $100,000 to win. The Sun Herald, putting more into your Sunday.
The Sladdens Group collapses. Supplier steps in to urgently finalise their business affairs. Every rug on the floor is half price for this weekend only. Open 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. St Ives Showground, Mona Vale Road, St Ives.
After 10 weeks at #1, Jesus Christ Superstar is the biggest album of '92, featuring the hit Superstar and the classic new single I Don't Know How to Love Him.
Don't know how to love him, what to do, how to move.
Everything's Alright.
You'll be lost and you'll be sad.
The brilliant multi-platinum cast recording of Jesus Christ Superstar, the perfect Christmas gift.
To take over the world, we must first capture the TV station.
195 P16.
Forget it. Now the army barracks.
287 K12.
Oh, not good. Now Parliament House.
Map 1 J12.
Your old street directory just isn't right anymore. The new UBD has totally changed Sydney's map references in a brand new, very clear format.
Where did we leave our spaceship?
334 M4.
Where would you be without your UBD?
An age of romance, revolution and discovery.
One for all, come on!
Heroes and old enemies are back. 8:30 Saturday, the return of the Musketeers on 10.
With summer just around the corner, Sydney's on shark alert after a 3.2 metre great white was captured inside Sydney Harbour. It was found in the North Harbour area, a popular site for swimmers and boating enthusiasts. Divers from the Manly Ocean World said it was probably sick. In spite of their efforts to revive it, it did die soon after they found it. It's thought the shark may have entered the harbour to look for easier food. A great white hasn't been captured in Sydney Harbour for more than 25 years. The turmoil over the radical industrial reforms of Victoria's Kennett government has hit a new flashpoint. Premier Kennett declared this evening he's seeking legal advice on the possible dismissal of the outspoken public service union boss Bill Della. Meanwhile, the legislation which makes work contracts possible from next March has passed through both Houses of Parliament after yet another marathon sitting.
Good morning or afternoon or whatever it is.
The confusion is justified. Many MPs are surviving on a total of 6 hours sleep for the week. In 3 weeks, the government's rammed through some 17 bills and there are 12 to go. The government's refusal to debate its 80 amendments to the Employee Relations Bill has outraged the opposition.
No, it's a Black Friday for all Victorians because in the dead of the night, the government rammed through the Industrial Relations Bill.
And Parliament House staff too have worked round the clock.
I can't sing at the moment.
In the last couple of days, we seem to have lost a day somewhere along the way.
Have you been home at all?
Yes, I've been home. I've been one of the lucky ones, I think.
But the Premier is unrepentant and dismisses Labor's complaints.
The public, sir, didn't want you to be left with the charge of management. They didn't want you. They threw you out. We make no apology at all for putting into place the mandate that we were clearly given.
Well, it's all very well for these people to come in like the Phantom of the Opera, in and out in the middle of the night.
Opposition leader Joan Kerner, already exhausted, is due to address the Labor Party's election post-mortem tomorrow morning, when she should either be asleep or still be back at Parliament debating. Vic Caruso, 10 Eyewitness News.
And as the Victorian Parliament continues those marathon sittings, there's already been a start to radical change in the workplace. What's claimed to be the first workplace contract is up and running.
The Melbourne firm of Sunset Mobile Homes already has its workplace contract in operation, and there's conflict over just whether it's a good thing or not. The contract enforces a 54-hour week, refuses to recognise trade qualifications, it abolishes holiday loading and penalty rates, and employees can reportedly be sent home at any time without pay. But it seems even the reforming Kennett government may have concerns about this pay setter, and a Department of Labor inspector has been sent in to investigate. Company boss Owen Anderson says the contract is a winner for workers, with some taking home $1,200 a week instead of the award wage of $300.
If I made a phone call on your TV station and wanted 500 people to come and work for me, the doors would be broken down, I would imagine, on what I'm telling you now.
It's better than working on the award, more advantages, no unions to tell you what to do and when not to work and when to work.
Meanwhile, the Victorian Parliament has been the venue for a second protest this week over the radical government industrial reforms. This time it was public servants demanding an election to test Premier Kennett's mandate for change. Norm Beeman, 10 Eyewitness News.
Still on politics, and a book about the many people claim have been the true power behind Australia's Prime Ministers, and it's been launched in Canberra. Prime Ministers' Wives provides fresh insights into 10 of the women who've made their home at the Lodge, partnering our top political leaders. Included are Patty Deacon, Enid Lyons, Paddy Menzies, Tammy Fraser and Hazel Hawke. Written by Diane Langmore, the wife of a federal politician, the book has the approval of the current PM's better half, Anita Keating, although she doesn't feature in it. All the women see themselves as ordinary Australians who were thrust into the spotlight. Still in Canberra, where the old Parliament House is to be given a new lease of life as a political history museum. In a bid to create some extra jobs, the federal government today announced $1 million refurbishment for the building, and it should be opened by Christmas.
It was once the nation's political heart, but since the new Parliament House opened in 1988, the life has gone out of the old building.
This has been a white elephant for too long. It'll now be open to all the public of Australia and be an added tourist attraction for Canberra.
The $1.25 million allocated will be spent restoring the Parliamentary Library, which will house an exhibition of political cartoons next month, along with the party rooms and Prime Minister's office. But the key attraction will undoubtedly be the Parliamentary Chambers, scene of momentous national events.
Declaring the existence of a state of war with Japan.
Today, former Labor Minister Fred Daly gave patrons of his regular political tour a taste of what visitors can expect. A seat on the front bench, even a chance to sit where Curtin, Menzies, Whitlam and Fraser all sat.
I should have been here, but I didn't have the numbers.
And no end of memories.
Tell us all you know, Bob. Won't take you long. Well, Menzies stood up and tucked 2 or 3 of his double chins into his collar, lifted those huge eyebrows right back behind there, and pointing at me, he said, "I'll tell them what we both know." He said, "It won't take any longer."